Captain's Log, Episode 32. This week's episode of the Beer Vengers podcast is sponsored by Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Now open 7 days a week. Enjoy the eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, home bar to yours truly, Captain Porter Brown Stout. This week, Captain Huck and Beer Wonder welcome back your friendly neighborhood Tripel Man for an epic 7-pour show. Tripel Man leads a freewheeling discussion of how design experience factors into how we experience beer in the cautiously joyful climate of mid-2021, as we slowly gravitate back to bars and breweries that we've missed so much. And, of course, the usual digressions take us to places as varied as Middle-earth and Weird Al Yankovic. Remember to like, star, and subscribe us whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 32, Are You Experienced?
With a beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers, we're the Beer Vengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location on the west side of Manhattan town, this is the Pale Male Hophead Huck.
And coming to you from the County of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder!
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, your friendly neighborhood Tripel Man.
And we are...
The Beer
Vengers. Ooh, sweet.
Best one yet.
Yeah. That's right, we're the Beer Vengers, everyone, and you out there listening to us are our Beer Vengering fans, and you're also Beer Vengers, so welcome to the show. You may have noticed we have a repeat guest with us, your friendly neighborhood Tripel Man, and that's neighbor with a U.
Yes,
Of course.
Out of respect to his Canadian origins. And that's why he's so polite. I mean, most of our guests have been polite, but some guests, when it takes a while for them to have their second appearance, get a little testy about the whole thing, but that's not his style.
No.
I mean, say what you will about Nutpool.
I will say what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, say what you will. If you guys still need to get that out of your system, that was its own thing.
It was an emotional experience, but I'm glad we all got through it together.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have no such drama there this week. We have a lot of great pours. Obviously, a wonderful repeat Beer Venger guest. We got a lot to talk about with our weekend beer and about the weekend beer and whatever else we can think of. Before we get to any of that, let's get to the pours.
Yeah.
Right?
We must pour.
We must pour. It is part of the responsibility of being a Beer Avenger.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I think Captain hasn't gone first in a while, so.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, sure. That's probably a good idea. I can do that.
Captain.
Yeah.
I realize that we are among friends. I mean, our friendly neighborhood Tripel Man is returning for a second appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But come on.
Oh, where's my head? It must be the whole Cinco de Mayo's got me all woozy.
I guess so.
Well, yeah.
All right, no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone.
Thank you for getting happy Cinco de Mayo. Well, it's Cinco de Mayo for us. Won't be when you listen to this, unless you have special hacking powers or something. Yeah, no, it's yes, absolutely. Tripel Man, what have you brought for us today?
Well, thank you so much. I mean, you're being very polite for me.
Always.
It's this very strange exchange that we're going through. I have something from Triple Bottom Brewing, which is in Philadelphia. It's they're on 9th and Spring Garden Street. I bike by there all the time. And this is it's called Ernesta Witbier.
Oh.
So I figured I would give
nice.
give that a try. Yeah.
Sounds
Certainly,
good.
yeah.
Can you hold that can up? Because that is some gorgeous can art right
Nice
there.
art.
It
Look
is.
at that.
It's almost a meditative experience.
There's a little Belgian theme on there. The windmill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Just a
Very
great,
good.
just a lovely little can.
Let's take a look at that beauty.
I picked it up
Right,
because it said it was a wheat ale with delightful notes of cherry candy, tart rhubarb, dank hoppiness, and spicy clove. And the clove is what sold me.
Gosh
sounds
and
like a great
golly. Now I
combination,
want to
yeah.
try that one.
It's like a pie. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
All right, let's see it.
Okay. Here we
Go
go.
ahead and pour that bad. Oh,
Good.
oh, that was
Refreshing already.
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
All
All right, hold it up a little higher so we can see
just
that.
above the mic there.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Oh,
there you go.
That is a freshie, no
Ouch.
question. Wow, it just jumped out of that can, didn't it?
I'm seeing that grapefruity looking wheat beer there. Yeah, the wheat,
Very
nice
dominant
weedy color.
head, yeah.
Yep, tiny little bubbles right in there, but looks like that head's gonna go down quickly. But yeah, it looks really delicious.
Yeah, if you would,
Excellent.
Trapel Man, hold the can up next to the glass as well, so we can get a good look at both of them together.
Oh, the head is already descending a little bit.
Yeah,
so
Head
that's
has got
good.
those are really
very-
big bubs on there. Yeah.
It smells incredible. It's got like
Mm.
pretty citrus
All right.
smell right away.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. What else we got, gentlemen?
Yeah, we're on the right track.
I think so.
B-dubs?
Captain, I did kind of spoil your thunder there. So would you like to go next?
Well, I think it would only be polite if you went next, Beer Wonder.
Oh, wait, thank you. Well, look at us.
The
See,
politeness parade here. I'm
Trapel
going to go
Man-
after that though.
yeah, Trapel Man, you show up and like I feel like I have reinforcements in my attempt to keep everybody civil here on the podcast.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it does just so happen that this week I have got a
Sponsored
charming-
pour.
that one.
Nice.
I jumped. Let me do that one more time.
Please.
Yeah.
Sponsored pour.
That's right. We
There
have a
you go.
sponsored pour from Astoria Beer and Cheese Dip Mars at 35-11 Dip Mars in Astoria, Queens.
Yes. So we've had much talk on the podcast of beers from the state of Colorado, and I have not yet had one from that state because I've been so focused on all of our local breweries. So I have got for us today from Crooked Stave in Denver, Colorado, their Juicy West, which is a new West Coast style IPA.
Hello.
Very good.
This little guy here. It's a 12%er can wise. It's clocking in at a charming 6%. And it is a
12
double
ouncer, you mean?
or 12 ouncer, yes, 12
Yeah,
ouncer.
12 ouncer at
bless.
6%. Yeah.
Bless 12%. It's
Bless it.
gonna be a whole thing. Not as hard. It doesn't hit as hard as Bless It. Let's be real.
It's a little less polite.
Yes, yeah, but it is double dry hopped using Simcoe, Citra, and Mosaic hops. So classic West Coast
It's
style.
going to have some nice aromas coming out of
I
that
know.
can.
I can't wait.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Crack-a-doodle-doo.
That was crisp.
exactly. It was crisp.
There we go.
Also, definitely a freshie. Because
And yeah, another heady.
Very heady.
Top that is head. Although not by definition a heady topper. That's
No.
copyrighted. But, but a lot of your wow. I'm
Yeah,
getting
this is a
deja vu
very-
last week.
it's literally jumping straight out of the glass. You can see
Yeah.
it's mostly head at this point, but got that good cloudy action, got that good
Yeah.
gold color, beautiful
similar
grapefruit.
color.
Yeah, a little cloudy on that one, but also beautiful like grapefruit right off the nose. It's interesting because it's just the smell of it makes me already think this should be more East Coast, but we'll see what the new West in West Coast IPA
Yeah,
is.
maybe some more of a hybrid. All right. Well, I didn't get a chance to get out and get beers. I was going to go out and get them today or yesterday, and I've been laid up with my heel. I had a flare up, and so Cider Girl has gone out to get me something. I don't know what it is.
Oh.
I'm reaching
Do
over
ya?
to my right.
Oh my goodness, this is very
And
exciting.
it is. Ooh, look at this.
Ooh.
Oh, North Coast Scrimshaw Pilsner.
Ooh.
Hey, look
very
at
good.
that! Oh my
From the
goodness.
state of California. North Coast, real nice. They make
Old
the
Rasputin.
do they make Old Rasputin?
They did. I
Wow.
just picked up a 4-pack today.
There you go. So I think I've had this Pilsner before, but not for a long time. So let me give it a shot. As you know, I just came from California. We'll talk about that a little bit. The great beers out there. Let's see how this
Oh, and a
one
beautiful
pours.
Pilsner glass too. Look at that.
But of course.
Oh, it's lighter beers for everybody today. It's got that good golden color to it,
Oh,
and
yeah,
also
it's
this one
perfect.
is not quite leaping out of the bottle in the same way that our beers did, but
Nope.
you've got a good solid head on it there. Really beautiful, really gorgeous. Probably the clearest beer we've had so far, at
Very
least of
clear.
the three today. Yeah.
Very Pilsnery.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Very polite beer.
All right.
All right.
Yes.
Well, for mine, which is also it's another
Sponsored pour.
sponsored pour from a
Such a
Beer
good
Cheese
harmony.
Mars.
It's very nice.
Yeah, she's very good at that. So I was thinking a lot this past week because there were some things that Tripelman has been talking about on social media, and we've all talked about these things with dealing with depression and anxiety over just the ones we always have and how it's exacerbated or how it's filtered through the experience we're having now.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I was talking to Beer Wonder at the Pony Bar the other day. Spoiler, that's a bigger story later. And talking about how the various rituals that have helped us get through this year, and the
Mhm.
rituals that have helped us get through the year, sometimes now are become almost a little bit of a crutch and might be hindering us a little bit from might actually be contributing to reentry anxiety.
Mm.
So in the
Yeah.
spirit of that, I'm going way off brand this
Whoa.
week
Whoa.
with Aslan. This is from Aslan, and you can see
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
rolling
Mhm.
something, so you might know what's coming up here. This is from
Yeah.
Aslan in Virginia. This is called a pizza.
A pizza. Oh, talk about
Now,
great can art there.
That is
That's
hilarious.
so
it
much fun.
is, but I will also add. Now you notice the pizza itself looks kind of like a watermelon slice there,
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
which is because that's, aside from the shape of it and the name of it, there's nothing here that would really indicate anything about a pizza.
Hmm.
Because this is a sour ale brewed with
Oh.
watermelon, raspberry, blackberry, mint, toasted coconut,
Oh.
and milk sugar.
Oh. So
I don't know where
lactose
the
in
name
there.
comes of it, where the pizza comes in. The closest thing was that when Tripelman opened his beer, you said when you heard all those fruits, you said it sounds like a pie. So maybe
Mhm.
Aha.
something there.
Well,
All
there's
right, so
milk sugar, I guess. Milk, like
Yeah.
cheese, maybe.
Yeah, it's
Mhm,
well,
mhm.
and the mint in there is always intriguing because adding mint as a beer flavor is usually pretty tricky. Oh gosh, now you can see every ounce of that
Whoa.
berry show up there,
Yes.
right?
Is red AF.
Mm-hmm.
Sure
Watermelon all
is.
the way. Really tight head development on this one. Not a
Mhm.
but still more than what I'm used to you drinking on this
Sure.
podcast.
Great color. Great color.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Gorgeous.
wonder that it's a pizza. It came from the idea that the watermelon slice looked like a pizza slice.
Maybe that's it. Oh, yeah. All right, everyone, raise your glass. And cheers, slancha, kampai.
Slancha,
Cheers.
pie, and all of it.
Prost.
Prost. What do they say? Chin chin.
Santé.
Portugal.
Wow.
Mm.
There's a lot going on there.
Ooh.
All right. Well, the Scrimshaw Pills is a classic pills.
Mhm.
Got it checks all the boxes. Even though it's kind of an old school beer, it's still
Mhm.
a good one to fall back on. It's really good flavor. We see some pretty good lacing there on the
Yeah,
glass.
gorgeous lacing. Also, a credit to your glass washing skills
Cleanliness,
there.
I'm happy
Huck.
about that. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't see that lacing, be like, ugh, what did I do wrong? I had other glasses lined up. I didn't know what beer was going to come in.
Mm. Come
So
prepared.
I had the Pilsner glass ready. That was very nice of Cider Girl to take care of me.
Yeah,
And
she
so
knows
my
you,
next
man.
one, if I have another, will be a surprise as well.
Mm.
Fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. This is the New West is a whole lot like the Old West because while it is fruity on the nose,
Mhm.
that like intense pine bite that you expect from a West Coast IPA, that nice bitterness that kind of comes in the back end, is very present. They clearly added stuff pretty early in the boil to bring out all that like piney flavor.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm not super like shocked by it. Again, we talked about Midwest IPAs when I was in the great state of Wisconsin. This one definitely reads to me more like a more traditional West Coast with a good fruity nose. The double dry hopping is pretty clear. I can smell every ounce of it, and I would drink so many of these. Dear friends at Crooked Stave, if you'd like to be, another sponsor on the podcast, you just let me know. I'm sure we can make that work. But
Absolutely.
what I think is so interesting is that Crooked Stave's whole thing is that they started as a sour brewery.
Yeah, I've had a few of their sours. Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of known for that because their head brewer, his master's thesis when he was getting his degree was he got named the Brettanomyces guru because he was just learning all about the process of making soured beers. So a lot of their cool releases tend to be those awesome sours, and I know you've had a couple of Huck, yeah.
Oh yeah, we had
yeah,
a few at the bar. Yeah,
yeah. But
real nice.
so I was a little surprised to see them doing a more like IPA style beer here. But you know they've really cracked the code on those guys, and they're clearly cracking the code on this one too. So more please.
Excellent. Good
Sounds
to hear.
Great. Yeah, this is like in terms of a wheat beer, it's quite hoppy tasting. When they say like dank hoppiness, it definitely has that cutting into it. And then
Neat.
it starts pretty tart. Like it starts when I was first starting to drink it, I was tasting a lot of the like fruity tartness, and then now the clove is kind of coming in at the ends to kind of pull it together in a nice way. It's 5.6%. So it's probably a beer I wouldn't pick up all the time because I love the more alcoholic beers. But it's definitely like a full pie for sure. Like I don't quite taste rhubarb. It feels more like a lemon meringue pie to me.
Wow, and it's really covering all the bases there with the wheat, the hoppiness, and the sour and the fruitiness.
Yeah, and it is classified officially as a wit beer. Yes,
yeah.
So it's got that Belgian feel to it as well.
For sure. I mean, that's why I picked it up. I'm so
naturally
playing to my strengths. And I was reading about Triple, which obviously Tripel man has to get something from Triple Bottom Brewing, but they're like a certified B Corp. So in Philly, they're doing a lot of things to focus on being sustainable, on hiring folks from Project Home and other local resources here. So they like are not just about the profits in a way that is pretty cool to me. So it's cool to pick something up to support them.
Very cool. Now I know that your neighbor. How close are they? You said they're within biking distance of where you are. So that puts them in which of the neighborhoods?
I do bike a lot. They're in Center City, pretty close to what we consider Northern Liberties, and I'm in West Philly, undisclosed location in West Philly.
Naturally.
But in terms of a brewery, I didn't know they existed, and I feel like I biked by them but didn't know the kind of beer they made, and this is definitely getting me excited about going, for sure.
Cool.
All right,
Captain.
Well, this one, it's I think the raspberry dominates more than anything else.
Okay,
that's the one that I really notice. I'm getting a little hint of the mint.
It looks very raspberry like.
Yeah.
I'm really not tasting the coconut at all. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but with all these fruits, it gets a lot of flavors. Yeah, I'm looking on here. It looks like the subtitle for this it's a 6%, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that.
Okay.
And the subtitle for this is "Fuck You, Hill Farmstead."
Nice.
No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. But I feel that like now that since you brought that up a while back, Huck, I feel that sort of like I feel like framing every beer in terms of like, is it would it pass the Hill Farmstead purity test?
A beer that tastes like beer. Yeah.
Yes.
Although I would say that this is closer to like I mean, despite all the flavors, this is closer to a traditional sour beer than something like, say, that really great one we had from Evil Twin, the More Hydra.
Even More Hydra.
That one was just so like with the pieces of fruit, and it wasn't even necessarily that like sour tasting. This definitely
it was sweeter.
This one is, I mean, it's like, I guess any of those like predominantly fruit ones is often considered a sour, but this one is definitely has that sour taste with the fruit, and it's really good.
Yeah, Aslan is top notch brewery. Yeah. I've actually been there. I went a couple years ago. And
really?
Great spot. Well, I went to the one in Alexandria, which is their offshoot tap room, but
right, because it's
really
Alexandria
cool
and Herndon, right?
Herndon is the home base. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know literally nothing. Well, because you just told me something, I can't say I know nothing about it. But before you said that, I knew nothing.
Well, I know that we've had Aslan beers at my beer parties.
Yes, we have. I remember the name.
One specifically we had was called Brunchies, and I remember that was so good. And that was a fruited sour, and it was like breakfast. It was like pancakes with raspberry syrup. That was a really good beer.
Yeah.
If you remember the can, it was like old 70s looking still photography, like something out of a magazine in the 70s.
That's awesome.
Just trying to ring bells.
The reason I don't always remember all of the beers at your parties is not just because we're all drinking beer. It's just because Huck, you were I don't I think even before you had a car, you were just really good at getting to other places and trading with like breweries that we can't get here. And there was
Yeah.
always you had so much of that stuff that I couldn't keep track of all of it.
Yeah, I was in the trading phase. In fact, I went to to get those Aslan beers. I went to Brooklyn with a backpack, took the subway to meet this guy at the Holiday Inn by the um, right near like where Finback is, at Keg and
Yeah,
Lantern, that
Gowanus.
stretch there.
Yeah, Gowanus area, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that Gowanus area. And I took, and it was like on the weekend. I took a train out there, and the guy actually was so impressed that I trekked all the way out there. He gave me an extra 4-pack of beers
Oh
from
wow.
another Virginia brewery. I want to call it like some kind of cat brewery, but yeah, good stuff at Aslan for sure. I had one that you would have loved last year. How Now Brown Cow was
Mm.
a chocolatey milk stout. It was really fantastic. They just put out a new one today.
Mm.
I keep track of their Instagram, but yeah, I don't trade anymore. So, but you can get Aslan in New York, as witnessed by the captain.
Well, yeah, they've got. I was just in Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars earlier today, picking up some stuff. Like I said, I got some. The North Coast. I just love the old Rasputin.
Yeah.
It's just one of my go-to Russian Imperial stouts.
So
and every
good.
time I see it, I'm like, okay, I'm getting 4 of these. It's just there's no questions. Like, okay, I see you have the ones in the coolers. Where are the 4-packs? Because that's what I'm taking home with me.
Now,
And
what do you about the
beard-
name?
Your beard kind
Go
of
ahead.
matches old Rasputin. It
Yes,
feels
yeah, I
like
need to
there's
dye
some
it. I think
connection.
I need to get some just for men, and look. I feel like Rasputin doesn't have quite much of this white. He
We
didn't
should do a
live
photo
quite long
shoot.
enough for that.
We should imitate the can art and
Yeah.
get a nice photo shoot.
I'll work on that. Yeah, I'll talk to the Night Runner about that.
There you go.
Yes,
Yeah, we have a
exactly.
pro in the fold. Yeah. Now, when you say Aslan, what do you guys think of that name? What does it bring to mind?
Oh, the
Well, first, it's spelled differently, but the Witch in the Wardrobe.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
Lion,
that's
the Witch,
my
and
first
Wardrobe.
go to. But they spell it I-N as opposed to
It's
Aslan.
spelled I-N.
exactly. Yeah.
So Cider Girl and I, when I first got the beer, she made that reference. She's like, "Oh, is it coming out of the wardrobe or whatever?" And I was like, "No, it's spelled with an I." Like I got mad at her.
It's a Turkish
She's not looking
delight.
at the can. She's like Turkish delight. I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's an I." I'm such an idiot sometimes, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm the same way. Earlier tonight, when I was texting with Belgian Babe, and she was asking who was on the show, and she wrote TRIPPLE man with 2 N's, and I said, "Is that voice to text?"
Could be.
She said, "No, I typed that out." Like, yeah, okay.
It's tough, you know. Anybody who needs to do any kind of French translation, it's hard. It's hard out there for Tripel.
Yeah, but
Right.
she's the Belgian Babe. She should
Come
know
on.
better.
There you go. It's in the name.
We may
Just
need
because double has 2 B's doesn't mean triple has 2 P's. I mean, Tripel.
Tripel, yes. But I do feel like we should have a meeting of the Belgians. You know what I mean? We've
We
got so
definitely
many
got to.
representatives of Belgian beers. We may need
Well,
to
we
just
have
have
so many. They should just take over the show one week.
yes,
Like,
a
here,
Belgian
just,
council.
It just is so
Yeah,
tasty.
that's a great idea. We should have a Belgian themed show where we all get Belgian beers or Belgian style. I mean, there's certainly a lot of Belgian beers you can get.
And there's so many different styles of Belgian beers.
There are
Yeah.
so many.
You could have the Kriek. I have a Kriek.
You could get a Kriek beer.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
No.
It's spelled Kriek.
Oh yeah.
It's like a cherry lambic.
They're very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I got
Very
one in my
excellent.
last box from Tavor.
Nice.
Well, I knew that Tripel was like Belgian essentially, but it turns out it's also Dutch. And my ancestors are Dutch on my mom's side, so I'm like, of course, I love this. This is like probably tastes like home somehow. You know.
Probably so.
We've had a quad ale that we've been promoting at our job, and
Yes.
it's called De Ver Vrienden.
Yes, the distant friend. And in fact, a distant friend of mine got a chance to enjoy that this past week because I am excited to say that Tripel Man left his undisclosed location and came to my undisclosed location now that we have all had our vaccinations and shots, and we're starting to travel again.
Mhm.
And we went on a bit of an adventure. And as you know, we were sort of toasting our first evening there. I did have a spare can in the fridge, which I tossed over.
Nice. In the Devrienden.
It was so good. It was so good. It was probably like not fair because I know that I can't get it many other places.
Right.
Um,
It's from 5440 Brewing in
Yes.
Washington. Right?
yeah, I got to go
Well,
there like
fight.
now because it was really,
Isn't
really good.
that where the name comes? Well, it was the old slogan was 5440 or fight.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like American Revolution or something, or maybe
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
was.
maybe,
It's the
maybe it's
It's the
Yeah, it's
parallel.
the
They
parallel.
named
Yeah.
it for the parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Which is super
Maybe
related
it's Civil
to.
War thing. I don't know.
but also, there's like a Canada
I was
situation
going to say
there,
it's a
so then I feel
Canadian
conflicted.
going across
if-
all the way, trying
Exactly.
to complete the whole parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, maybe it's War of 1812. I don't know.
Yeah.
we'll get that in the hookups for next
Get that.
week.
Yeah. I just have to
54,
do some
40 or
research on
fight.
that.
Yeah. However, it was really fun to see Tripel Man
Yeah.
this past weekend because it has been a while, and
Mhm.
we have had kind of like a bit of a history together of like drinking beers and enjoying Gotham, and so it was fun to sort of relive a couple of those memories. And as a part of it, we spent a little time at an old art museum haunt of ours,
Ooh,
a well-established one. And naturally, we did some important beer venging
we did.
Nice.
this weekend. So we do have some like hot off the field reports coming
Mm.
in from what it's like to go to the tail end of COVID adventures.
I
in
hope it's
Gotham
the
City.
tail end. I hope
Yes.
it's the tail end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Because I'm not necessarily ready, but I'm ready to be ready.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like I keep seeing the stuff on the news saying, "Hey, everything's going to be great by July." I'm like, is it? Even if we're allowed to, should we? How
Mhm.
much? I mean, I'm because we've been talking about the whole vaccinated thing. Like, yes, we are, and if more people do, and if but then you see what's going on in India, and I'm just like, okay, let's do what is safe, but let's not just say, well, we got to do it now because everyone said, because some people will take that attitude. So I'm like, I'm ready to see if it's ready.
Yeah. Well, I thinking about it instead of as like, okay, there's one way everyone's going to exit this situation. It's like the multiverse, right? Like we're at the point in the
True.
superhero movie where now there's just like universes all over. Everyone's on their
Yeah.
own specific movie, linear plot, and we're all kind of interacting and then dispersing. Like no one has any one way that they're engaging with this thing, whether when you got vaccinated, how you got vaccinated, what your own comfort level is, what your risk factors are. It's all a big mess. So as opposed to like everyone went into lockdown together and like got through the beginning of this, we're all off ramping into our own little universes, which
True.
makes it complicated to figure out how to be with each other in this time.
Yeah, I was in California all week, and when we were with my mother-in-law, we generally go out to eat for every meal, and in normal times. And of course, we're all vaccinated, so that's what we did.
Mhm.
Oh wow!
We had not. I mean, Bricken was saying that.
Cider girl.
She said she was saying that we may have eaten out more times in the week than we did in the year previously.
That's
So,
very believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
it was enjoyable though. It was nice. It was nice
Yeah.
to get back out,
Yeah.
eat the different food.
Well,
yeah.
I was paying attention to it because, and I don't know, this is like the thing that I would love to talk about in terms
Yeah.
of the topic is that, because it's been a while and now I'm going back in, I feel like I'm seeing things with a little bit of a fresh eye. And I feel like Beer Wonder, our experience going to Randolph
Yes.
on the rooftop was very strange in a really fun way. It was a very unique experience for me, not being someone who's hanging out in Brooklyn a lot, to go there.
Yeah. So, for those of you who are longtime listeners of the Beer Ventures podcast, you may remember that Hophead Huck and I had some breaking news about the Randolph rooftop. And so Tripel Man and I went to go check it out. And a quick, word of our friends at Randolph have 3 different places you can sit. You can sit directly out on the sidewalk. They have their internal area, their like inside bar open with social distancing and contact tracing and all of that stuff. And then they also have a rooftop space. And having being a bit of more of a regular, trying to continue to take care of them during all this time, the recommendation I'd received was to make a reservation, especially if you wanted to
Yeah,
get up on the
yeah.
rooftop. And it wound up being helpful because I thought it was, people were enjoying it, which was great.
Yeah.
But getting there was its own unique entrance into some version of a multiverse. So, Trapel Man, you want to walk us through what this whole thing was?
Sure. Well, so again, like I had actually, because I knew it was fairly close to one of your secret hideouts, and so I was walking by before and didn't even clock it as a brewery, right? Like it just looked like a co-working space, like it or a place that had outdoor seating and was like selling sandwiches or something. And so when we went there, I was like, "Oh, this is a brewery." And then once the windows are all open, I can kind of see in and see the stills and stuff. But you don't even like see the name. It's like very large print, and this very, I don't know, just like again, very co-working space kind of feeling for me. So we check in at the table, and did we get our temperature checked there? I feel like we did.
Quick temp checks, and since I had made a reservation, they had all of our contact information, but otherwise they were going to take that from us.
Yeah. And then someone got out from behind the table and walked us into kind of like the apartment complex it's built next to or inside or whatever. And they were just like, go up to the elevator, go to the 12th floor or whatever it is, and you'll get off and you'll find it. So we're walking in, and the guard like has already let the gate through. We walk through the gate, and the elevator like magically opens as we're getting up close to it. So it's almost like the seamless transition from someone like gesturing us into this apartment building into like the gate opening and the elevator opening, and we go up, and then we enter into this kind of,
and notably, the button number 12 had been pushed when we walked
yes,
into the
it was
elevator.
like,
So we had not touched anything at this point,
like,
which was a little wild.
yeah, it was magical. Or it felt magical to me. It was like, wow, this feels like so seamless. And we get up to the top and we get out, and then we're like in this very white hallway with like kind of signage, but also we weren't sure if it was a bit of a murder hallway, right? Like what could go down in this
Definitely,
situation.
there was a possibility we weren't getting out of this place
Right.
alive.
Harsh fluorescent overlight, like white walls, like, but enough signage to get us there. And then, of course, you open out into it and you see the brilliant, beautiful Manhattan skyline. And there are a bunch of people at tables. And we go and are, gestured to a place to sit down. There's a QR code to have menus, which is something that I'm getting used to, right? It's just all in the QR code. Like you don't even touch a menu.
In theory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some QR codes kind of suck.
They don't
I
work.
hope that one worked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't work. Or if the sun's out and they're laminated and they're like because of the shine from the sun, you can't quite get it in there.
Yeah, it's not a perfect technology, but we were there around sunset. So of course we're
Yeah.
seeing this insanely beautiful sunset as then folks are coming up to us. I think I remember this correctly, Beer Wonder. There's like we ordered everything on an app that we were like both on the same order, so we could like see what each other were ordering for food and drinks. We decided to get a pitcher. Cool. Yeah, it was very convenient for sure. And so we got a picture. Do you remember what I remember the first word of what it was called? But do you remember what we got?
It was I'll
Randy?
be honest, it was something randy. It was a delicious sort of fruited saison.
Yeah, it was a saison.
That was quite lovely.
All right.
It was a well done beer. I'll be honest, we had such a lovely night up there. I have no memory of it.
Yeah, no, we took some selfies. That's what we did. But it was such a it's a destination place, right? Like you went to the restroom and you came back and you got stopped and had to take pictures with other people for a while, right? Because you were helping them. Because you're very polite as well.
I try.
Minnesota.
I've learned many things from you.
So this whole experience, it became so much more about the location and the flow and like how to get there and this whole situation. The beer was kind of forgettable. It was fine. We got a little pitcher of it, but it was like a small pitcher. And we got food, but it was just kind of like food that they knew they needed to have so that drunk people could eat something.
Right.
Like the whole thing a lot was about just the experience of it. And it got me thinking about that, of just like what other folks' experiences with breweries have been like recently. Thinking about like, okay, going out is a lot more of a big deal right now, at least. Like going places. What do you put up with to get there? What do you want out of the experience? So yeah, that was my story to launch us into this conversation.
Well, with I mean, if we're talking specifically about the last year, it's I mean, I have found more often than not, I don't like the street seating if there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
I feel like anytime if I'm at like a street side, one of those little like glass cage things,
Yeah.
or whatever they have, or sometimes they're just tables on the sidewalk.
Right.
Anytime a pedestrian walks past me, I'm like, okay, should I put on the mask? What do I do? And so I like, for instance, one that's why I've talked about this a lot. I'm not just pumping up our sponsor, but the fact that Astoria Beer and Cheese has a backyard is why
Right.
I go there I've gone there more than anywhere else than I have the last year. Once they started allowing that, and when it's been good weather, it's just a great place. It's very peaceful, and it was one of those things that it's different in the pandemic. The fact that they're all still doing plastic cups,
Right.
and maybe a few less tables than there were before.
Yep.
And I still deliberately try and go there at like 2 o'clock on a weekday afternoon.
Mhm.
And like I was there last week with Night Runner, and we were the only table there, and it was great. And similar with you and me, Beer Wonder, when we went to Rockaway, and when we went to Fifth Hammer a few months back, even though Fifth Hammer was just like a barrel on the street, because it's not there's not a lot of travel going on there on a weekday afternoon,
Right.
so I felt completely safe there.
Yeah, and Rockaway had, of course, those sort of like built wooden enclosed areas that took you a little bit further into their space, but
Yeah,
were still very breezy and still felt very, felt kind of more outdoors and a little bit safer sort of in that environment. It was, those had been sort of what I had understood going out and, enjoying a beer or whatever in the world. Even the few times that I went out and had drinks in a place before I was vaccinated, before things were opening up a little bit more, that was the experience I was having. So it was wildly unique to have a full table and a rooftop and a view and all this other stuff. It felt like a complete 180. It felt like that kind of enclosed experience that we've got at Astoria Beer and Cheese, our fabulous sponsor, but just taken to a slightly different, at a different vantage point, basically a different view.
Literal elevation.
Literal different viewpoint up to the I think it's the 13th or 14th floor of that building.
Well, it was funny too, because earlier we went to that, storied museum, and then we went to the bar where all the guards would go. It was like a place that was like a pretty common, rendezvous point for us.
Yes, correct.
And they had outdoor seating as well, and they had a TV mounted outside, so you could watch the sports, because this is a sports bar. It's an Irish sports bar, right? And you could watch the same. I think the Derby was on or something.
Yes,
and,
the Derby.
And we had the beer in the
It was
plastic
that weekend.
Yeah, we had the beer in the plastic cups. We had all of that experience. We watched, people just walking down the street, pedestrians cross us all the time. And then we were kind of in this little hut, on kind of on the street, which was a very different experience for sure.
Very nice. Now, I was just in Monterey, California.
Right.
Ooh.
And it's a really beautiful town. Really, really nice there. And so knowing we were going to Monterey, I'm like, we got to go to Alvarado Street, which is a brewery, kind of a cool kids brewery, like much like Aslan or Other Half. It's like the hip place to get the hazy IPA. And so I had Uncle Ed, with me. He's also a beer drinker. I mean, as far as beer vendor names, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's an excellent name.
Any uncle at all. Great.
So we were like, we got away from the rest of the fam and we went to go to Alvarado Street. And like you're talking about reservations and the problem of getting a table. And so we got there and I put my name on the list, and you can't just go and sit at the bar, you have to be at a table. You have to follow the protocols and all that. So I was like, okay, I made a reservation. We waited about 10, 12 minutes. And then I was like, I don't know if we want to wait, And so I went to check and I said, well, listen, I know we're supposed to be an hour wait, but how many tables are in front of us? And the woman's like, oh, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm like, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give up the ghost on Alvarado. So we did not go to Alvarado Street, but right up the street was a Fieldwork brew pub.
Okay.
And if you know Fieldwork, they're kind of an East Bay brewery. They do all their brewing out of Berkeley. They've been around a little while and great reputation. So I hadn't had them yet. But I know that we didn't have to go to Monterey for field work. We could have been back where Uncle Ed lives. And so, but I turned him on and said, "There's one in the town next to you," and because they have 5 tap rooms
Wow.
around that area, California. One of them being in Monterey. So I made a reservation on my phone, and we went up there, and it was like it was actually like it was a Trader Joe's with like a regular shopping parking lot, and then the whole tap room was outdoors.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a nice experience. And we ended up getting seated in the corner, where there weren't any other people near us.
Mhm.
And we got these big flights, six beer flights.
Oh, love that.
And oh man, so good. And one that really stood out was the captain would love this. Is called Luke's Diner. It was a maple espresso porter.
Ooh.
And you know how I am with the coffee beers.
Yes.
It's got to have that coffee going. I want it on the nose. I want it everywhere.
Right.
And as soon as and we just only had like the little sample, so I was like, I didn't want to drink it because I just love smelling it so much. And it was so good.
Some of you out there, if you've been looking at our Instagram feed lately, you will notice that we have a picture of Huck with that beautiful flight from that brewery.
Yeah, it's on the gram. Yeah,
quite something.
Is Luke's Diner a reference to Gilmore Girls?
I was wondering the same thing.
It was a reference to Gilmore Girls. Yeah, it was. I didn't quite because I only noticed because I was thinking of it. I'm like, what's Luke's Diner? I know that name, but on the Instagram it had a hashtag said Gilmore Girls. I'm like, that is it. I didn't see why it was called that, but
well, the only thing I can think of is maple equals plaid equals like this sort of Luke having.
Well, they were obsessed with drinking coffee,
right?
That's right. Yes, that's true. Gilmore Girls.
And then the diner was for breakfast, so the maple,
that makes sense.
As a Canadian, I'm a little offended, but I'll be polite about it.
Thank you.
We do maple. We do the syrup here in the United States.
Yeah, I don't think you have a. Oh, come on, Vermont.
I've had Massachusetts maple syrup's very good.
Yeah, you got to go to Nova Scotia if you really want maple syrup. But
don't get him started on the milk thing because like the bag situation is a whole other deal.
So much more convenient. Anyway,
but it was a nice. What's our term that you used? The experience.
Experience design, right? Like how do you
experience design? Yeah, it was a nice experience design,
right?
Well, I want.
And the Alvarado looked really nice too, but we couldn't get in there.
Well,
right.
That's for next time. I want to talk about our trip to Pony. Before we do, I think we got a couple of second pours lined up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. Well,
are you ready, Cap? You want to go first?
Wait. We have a Canadian who knows about politeness.
I see the top of his can there. I'm sorry.
I saw his can already. That's why I didn't go with mine first because I saw his lined up.
We're gonna do a whole like new top of the show. Here we go.
Well, okay. So if you're being polite, it's the host. Yes. The hosts will say, "All right, you're the guest. You decide." And I feel like I saw the Pale Male get it the first, like get their second one ready, and yours is a surprise. So I feel like I want to hear that first.
It is a surprise. I did see the name of the brewery. It's another bottle. I saw the name of the brewery, but I don't know what it is. This could be really interesting.
Let's find out.
Omegang.
Omegang. It's a wit.
At a wit beer. Omegang Witta. This is another one that I really like. Excellent.
Oh, lovely.
I was actually talking about this beer earlier tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Speaking of experiences, that is high on my list of breweries to go visit.
That's another really good experience.
Up to Cooperstown for them. They're lovely.
Have you done that, Captain?
I haven't. That's why it's on my list.
I have actually been to visit them, and this was a very long time ago, but it was a lovely experience.
Yeah, I have too. Really great place, and they give you nice samples, and they really let you know about. They grow their own hops up there. They show you the fermenting tanks,
and this beer is just
too much head on that. Apologies.
It's a beautiful creamy head.
Mm-hmm. And it's got that same color, Tripelman, that you've got, since similar styles of beer here. But and also, their can art for me is just always, or I guess bottle art in this case, is just so simple and clean. They get the sun in the center, you get the wheat on the side, you know everything that you're going into getting this beer. It's not terribly confusing. Like you get what you get, and you know it's going to be good. So,
I got that nice Belgian sugar coming off the nose. Oh,
oh goodness.
I have had the Game of Thrones themed
Oh yes.
Omegang,
I've had a few of those, yeah.
which are
Yeah.
so good. It's a little terrible that it's like themed for Game of Thrones. Not really, because like more power to them to grab attention when we were all
Yeah.
freaking out.
This is great. I forgot how good this was.
The best Game of Thrones beer was not an official Game of Thrones beer, and that's Dragon's Milk from New Holland in Michigan.
Ooh, okay. I've not had that.
Okay.
But Omegang had a couple. And
Yeah, a lot more than a
I had
couple.
like 5 or 6 of them. Yeah.
I've had a few, and it was around the time when my best friend passed away, and he was like super into Omegang. So it was like a big deal for me. I was like not drinking for a year. It was like a promise I made to myself, and I broke it just a couple of times, and one was on his birthday to drink Omegang as an honor to him. And I had some sort of Game of Thrones beer because we watched Game of Thrones together all the time.
I think at one of our at one of the Beer Vengers visits at gatherings at my place, I had a growler of one of theirs. I think it was like a Mother of Dragons kind of a.
Of course,
Mother of Dragons.
Yes, I do recall that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had Hand of the King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
We've had a couple others.
I think it was Mother of Dragons. I had, pretty sure it was delicious, as all Omegang is.
Yeah, this is really delightful. It's really nice because I haven't had one in a long time. I used to order this more often back in our pony days, right?
Yes.
And this is just, it's very nice. You got that nice fruitiness, and it really brings back memories of going to the brewery. Frankly, it's just like just puts me in that nice meadow, and look at that head. It's like so fluffy.
Yeah. It's a cloud.
Yeah, it's really it's just a beautiful head, and it's sticking there, which means you got extra protein in that beer. That like a retention that's happening is really
the head has integrity.
It really does. It really does. And so let's get another pour going. Tripelmet?
Okay. This I'm now moving to Southern California, which is where my parents live, where I went to high school. So we're back in California. This is in Orange County, or it's called Placentia, California. It's a place called The Brewery.
Yeah,
I think I had one of those on a previous, not that particular one, but one from them. They make great
you've
stuff.
had a brewery on before. Yeah.
Well, I saw this. This is a horchata, a blonde ale brewed with rice and lactose with natural cinnamon and vanilla flavors added. And again, the spice for me is what I want all the time.
Yeah.
And this one is 7.2%. So I have a feeling I'll be well served with this.
I think that's beautiful sounding crack right there.
And that's it. I've had this one, I think, before. It's meant to emulate the drink, the horchata, right?
Right.
That's right.
And it's beautiful, like almost caramelly color.
Yeah.
It's a little darker. Yeah.
It's definitely caramelly.
The head's going down quick.
Maybe I have not had this. Yeah.
But it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's not creamy like I would expect from something with lactose.
Yeah. I think they had a different version of it, a creamier one. It looked like Kahlua and cream, as I recall.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Got those flavors you want, though.
Very, very vanilla, cinnamon, sweet. It's very sweet and milky tasting. It doesn't like have a creamy, but like it's like cream soda, frankly.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
Well, I've got one. I'm a little bit back on brand. I'm not going to make Huck play the song because I've only been cellaring this for a couple of months, unless he wants to play the song.
He's
gonna have another beer, yeah.
Another beer. This is our first beer ever from Idaho.
Ooh,
Okay.
It is from Bombastic Brewing, and it is the Big Dumb Beer Imperial Stout. Big Dumb Beer. It's 15%. Now this is really interesting to me because it's the blurb on the back of the can is anything but a classic take on an Imperial Stout.
Okay.
Using roasted wheat and flaked oats for a full body and chocolate rye to give bold chocolate notes with minimal bitterness.
Interesting. Okay.
And
it's malt heavy, just like you like them. So that's fantastic.
Let's see what we got here.
Okay. Oh gosh. I mean, if they're talking about this being a thick beer, it really truly, I don't know I say this every week, but it's motor oil. That's what
it
this
looks
one,
like oil.
And that oats lends
got a
itself to
nice
a little
dark
creamier
head.
head.
There we go.
More protein in there. Yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh. What a
Oh, that's
pretty
gorgeous.
Yeah.
All up, yeah.
And what I find especially interesting about this one is you guys have really blown my mind as far as really thinking about adjuncts. I don't think I ever used to think about it. Like, it's really, this tastes good.
Yep.
And more, but I mean, I like the flavors, but or I can, and I could describe to you why I like the flavors, but as far as how they come to that flavor, and this is one that I don't think that the Hill Farmstead guy could really complain about, because none of the stuff I said was really an adjunct. Chocolate rye is not actual chocolate.
Right.
It's a
That's
kind of
grain.
rye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a grain that has a chocolatey flavor to it. There are no adjuncts in this at all. It's all grains. It's all wheat, oats, rye, and it's delicious.
An adjunct
Sounds it.
Adjunct would be anything you're going to add to like give it more flavor or a different kind of flavor, but it's not the main
Like
four ingredients of
something
beer.
that would something wouldn't naturally go in beer. Like if you're adding chocolate or marshmallows or Oreo cookies or all the various fruits of the other one. Oh, I mean, there's a shit ton of Oreo cookie beers out there. That's
Really?
I think one. I
There
think that's one.
there are.
I think that's one of the ones that. And there's some more. I've seen plenty of like some more stouts out there. In fact, what I think the rant. We're not going to read it again. You can go back to whatever episode that is on our full archive available at your leisure. It's I think Oreos are one of the things that he brought up. He's like an Oreo mixed with a cheeseburger, mixed with French fries, mixed with blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, get over yourself a little bit, man.
Yeah, I think I deleted those from my phone.
All right,
I don't have those quotes on.
Devastating.
But to his credit, this is a very. They say it's unconventional, but it's still in its own way very pure the way they came to it. I have this is the first. Like I said, this is the first one we've had from Idaho. And Belgian Babe is not happy that I'm having it on the show because I happened to get 2 cans of this from my recent shipment, and just on a whim, I opened one of them on a family Zoom call, and she said, "Well, you're going to have to wait till I come over to have the other one." It's like, no, I got to have it on the show. We've never had an Idaho beer, so I can't say
must beer venge it. Yeah,
must venge. Yes.
Like, don't worry. I mean, don't feel too sorry for out there. I've got plenty of other wonderful beers to share.
You do.
Very generous.
We'll get another chance at the big dumb beer.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Idaho has tons of different grains. It's like a huge farming area.
That is one of those states that grows the hops.
Yes, they also
one of
do
the 3 states. I believe it. I said that on the air too. The percentage of Idaho hops. I think it's like
there's a lot of farmland out there.
There is.
With Washington, Idaho, and Oregon account for 96%.
Wow.
Of the hops grown in the U.S.
Oh, I didn't know that. I went to
mostly Washington.
Well, I went to college in Washington State and had many a good beer, but it was definitely like right as breweries were becoming extremely popular, and I was an uneducated young person, so I didn't quite get on the good beer mode until I got to Philly.
That's why you don't see a lot of wet hop beers.
True.
Back east, although with the New York growing more hops now, maybe we'll start to see a couple wet hops, which are right off the vine.
Right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the last count, they have 77 breweries in Idaho.
Okay.
Well, it's funny because, of course, they border Washington and Oregon, which is like Oregon.
Yes.
Oregon has 312. Washington has 428. Whoa. Idaho 77.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot.
How many do you think California has?
900.
It's got to be over 500.
Well, Beer Wonder's closer than you are.
1,200.
Wow.
Beer Wonder's closer than you are.
So 875.
958.
Wow.
I
know that they have the most
mind-boggling.
California does have the most breweries in the country. At least every time the lists has come out, they're always the winners.
But here's one. Which state has more breweries per capita?
Okay, I got that one. Okay, I think
I know the answer.
Okay. I think I did before I looked at it, but which one? Go ahead and say what it is.
Well, I'm gonna get. This is a fun game, so let's do this. Tripel Man, if you're down for it.
Yeah.
I'm split between somewhere in New England and Colorado, and I'm gonna go with Colorado because I feel like they've been doing it longer.
More breweries per capita. than anywhere else in the country. The state,
Right.
And Colorado's already been ruled out, so you have 49
Yeah, it's not
other options.
Colorado. Per capita,
One of
though.
them, one of them may not surprise you. One of them will.
Okay.
Okay.
We're talking breweries, not like growers.
Breweries per capita.
Breweries per capita. I feel like it has to be Oregon.
Okay, I'll give you the numbers. Oregon is 9.6.
Wow.
It's a lot.
9.6.
It's a lot, but it's nowhere near the top.
9.6 breweries or people
Believe it
per
or
each
not,
brewery.
just to give you an example, because this is in the top 3, Montana has a higher per capita than Oregon does.
That makes sense because
fair.
Montana has no one in it.
Right.
That's it.
But
You
but
got to
they've
look for those low
12.4 per
population
So
capita.
states.
is it like
Is it Idaho?
one of the Dakotas?
It is not one of the Dakotas. No, you were on the right track when you were trying to figure it out
The
before.
first time, yeah.
Oh, New Englandy style. Well, okay, so like there's no one in
Connecticut?
Vermont.
It's
Connecticut?
Is it Connecticut?
What?
No.
It's Vermont.
Was Vermont an actual guess?
Yes,
It
Vermont
is
is. I
now.
mean, yeah. I was like, it's either going to be somewhere in New England or it's going to be Colorado. I went with Colorado because I figured that they had more. But yeah,
But Maine isn't far behind.
no, of course not. Of course not.
It's got like 15.4 in Vermont and 12.9 in Maine.
Do you know why that is? They're close to Canada, so they have a lot of Canadians that live there, and Canadians love beer, so they're all
Oh
there.
yeah, when I've been to breweries, when I've met people at Vermont breweries, and they'd come over the border to enjoy the breweries. Yeah,
Yeah, and also they're cooler than New Hampshire.
Right.
But
But
also-
Because let's be
Whole
honest,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire is just as close to Canada as Vermont is, but they're only at 8.8.
Well,
what is
they're a
going
little
on
more
in New Hampshire?
reserved in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
they are.
Some good breweries there. Schilling is one that I really enjoy, of course.
Oh, they have wonderful breweries. Yeah.
But we've been there's a lot of talk about DC statehood,
Yes.
and so they keep bringing up the low population states of Wyoming and Vermont, which have less people than DC.
Well, and DC has an excellent brewing scene, so perhaps should they get statehood, we can mix these numbers up a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to change the whole thing,
the whole dynamic.
Absolutely.
Oh, we hope so. I'd love to see DC as a state. That'd be really great.
Yes, call your senators.
I'm going to go ahead on the record here that the Beer Avengers are in favor of DC statehood.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
See,
Yeah.
applause from the Trapel man.
Only
That's
the
what we
polite thing to say.
need.
Yes.
Very true.
No,
We
completely
are tired
agree.
of
Yeah.
taxation without representation.
Hell yeah.
Puerto Rico too.
Well,
Yeah,
if they
I'd
want it,
love
if
to
they
see
want
that.
it, they get
If
to
they
make their
want-
own choice.
That's right.
I know it's
That's
a
right.
little, they're a little more divided there, although I think slight majority in favor. But you're right; it's a lot more divided there.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're going to have to pay taxes here, they should get the voting rights here.
Check out the lacing on this
This
piece.
gorgeous lacing on again. A credit to you, Huck, on your glass cleanliness. But
I can't believe the spirit. So it's delightful. What a
Which-
nice choice.
It's such
Give Cider Girl a credit tonight for getting the bottles.
Yeah.
well done, cider girl.
I said I can't walk, so please go. I have gotten better as the day's gone on,
Good.
so that's a good sign.
Now back to our COVID drinking experiences. So it actually we sort of soft pedaled a little bit. Friday was a momentous day for the Beer Wonder and myself because we took our first return in over a year to our favorite place and the place where we became who we want, the actual location, but the brand that it's the Pony Bar. We went to the Pony
Uh-huh.
Bar.
Right. Yeah, we went to Pony. Exactly.
And it was curious. I got there and there was almost no one there. It was noon, which is I'm sure is probably they don't open till 3 most days, but on
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday they open at noon. So we went there a little after noon, and there was no one in the outdoor seating and almost no one in the indoor seating as well. And so I got there first. Texted Beer Wonder, said, inside or outside. He said outside. Like, okay, but let's think about inside since we're vaccinated and there's no one inside.
And
So
the
we went-
doors were open, which was
The doors were
impressive.
open too. So like we
Airflow
sat
is huge.
outside briefly, ordered one drink there and said, let's just go inside. And so we did. And we got the temperatures taken and we signed the thing for contact tracing and all that.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of nice beers there, had some French fries with shredded chicken on it. It was really wonderful to be back.
Yes,
Nice.
it felt like a momentous. And
Yeah.
while New York is certainly Gotham, I should say, is certainly opening a little quicker than we all anticipated. I think we were thinking July 1 would be our reopen date, but it does appear that it's now mid-May. This week was also a momentous week, or I guess it will be the week prior to what you're listening to. But bar seating is now available in the city
If
of New
the bar
York.
chooses to. The bar's
If
not
the bar
required
chooses
to.
to, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
mean
That's good. That's nice.
I mean that's kind of the funny thing is I half expect. I don't think it's going to happen as much in New York, but we definitely have our assholes here too, who will say like, "Yeah, you're
No.
supposed to have a sit at the bar." Like, no, we choose not to. There's no seating here. People
Well-
can't like. I mean, because they have that at Destroy Beer and Cheese. I don't think they're reinstituting bar seating anytime soon, even though they're allowed to, but they don't have to.
Well, it just goes back to that multiverse thing, right? Like if
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
does come down to every individual business owner, et cetera, like they're going to do what they want to do based on what kind of risk they want to take.
Yes.
Well, conversations I've been having with people are that right now we've got what the least restrictive rule we can have is, right? The least restrictive we can be is you can sit at a bar. The least restrictive you can be is you can have, come May 17th, 100%, capacity in your restaurants. And everybody gets to decide that is the least restrictive we can be. Are we going to be more?
And that
And here's oh, go ahead.
No, that just
Sorry.
totally depends on how many people rely on that place for, sorry to use this term again, experience design, right? Like I want to go there because I want to sit at the bar, I want to talk to the bartender, I want to talk to the people who are next to me, and blah blah blah. Versus, no, everyone's really digging the backyard. Like it's a really safe location, people love it. I can keep the numbers small. I have the ability to charge enough to make it rent in New York or in Gotham, etc. Like
Yes.
every individual institution has to make those calculations of like how much do I need volume versus quality of check or whatever.
Yep.
So it's just kind of on every individual place and where their strengths are, and then we have to figure out, what do we want, each of us, what do we want to do with our day.
Yeah, I know that I've really wanted to go to the Torch and Crown tap room.
Yeah.
And I have gone there before they opened to buy beer. And I've had beer delivered. But since they opened it, I see the pictures and I'm like, this is the dream Manhattan brewery tap room that we've been waiting for. There's plenty in Brooklyn and in Queens, but in Manhattan, because the rents are so high and for other reasons, we haven't had that beautiful brewery tap room. And they did open it, and so we'll have to make that one of our destinations too.
Indeed.
Sometime soon.
Now that it is now that our most of our beer vengers at this point, I believe. I mean, I know your friend Tripelman is vaccinated, which is why we had some time together this weekend, which was awesome.
Saving lives.
But the fact that I feel like beer venging in public can again start to happen, which is important to not only save the world from bad beers, but also ensure that the places that supply us with those beers are continuing to be able to live, and our fellow beer vengers, like the ones who work behind the bar, can pay their rents too.
Right.
And I think I should also say, since we were just talking about Astoria Beer and Cheese, Ditmars, they just this week announced they're going to be open 7 days a week again.
Oh, that's great.
They were 5 for a while, went to 6, and now they're back up to 7, which I think is so great. Just in time for my birthday next week.
Yeah, and is showing that there is demand for this. There's demand for people who are to come out and have a beer somewhere.
Well, my theory is actually the demand for experiences is going to go way up, right? Like we've been shut inside. We haven't been doing a lot of things. We're going to want to get out there. What happens after, I don't know. But I feel like there's going to be a spike of, okay, now that we're able to get back out there, there's enough mitigating factors to risk. It's unlikely if you're vaccinated, you're going to get sick. You're going to be treating your life differently. So everyone's going to want to do those things they haven't done. Yes, we can order drinks to our house. Yes, we can do all kinds of other things that are chill. We want to get out there. But then after that, what's it going to be like? Like, how often are we going to want to like be out with people versus just, I get great service at home. I can watch TV whenever and drink whenever I want. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a different dynamic for sure.
For a while, anyway.
Yeah, for a while. I mean,
but it's interesting because it really does come down to, and we talked about a little bit about this today, but also on previous shows, about it comes down to what you can do, what you should do, what the gray area is, and what part of that not gray area is just a dick move that fits in with what you can do. So, like, for instance, they just announced last week that it's okay to be outside without a mask.
Yeah. I was doing that in California.
That is the least restrictive we can be.
I have been doing that as well.
CDC.
However, I always have a mask in my hand or in my pocket.
Yep.
And if I find myself walking down the street and I see someone a little ways away wearing a mask, I put it on while I'm walking by them, just out of courtesy.
I do the same thing.
It's one of those things like this person might not feel comfortable with this. What either they don't know the rules or they're not comfortable with the rules. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, they
I
might
don't
not
even
be
necessarily
vaccinated.
put it on my ears. I just hold it up against my face for that amount of time. And yeah, they may not be vaccinated, even though they've said anyone pretty much it's okay to be
Yeah,
outside.
yeah.
But again, it's what you can do and what, if you want to err on the side of caution and you feel more comfortable with it's
Well, we've also over the year have sort of villainized the
The
anti-masker, right?
anti-maskers,
So now,
yeah.
so
right.
now
And now
there's
we
like,
don't want to be that
Cultural
guy.
elites.
Like, no, really, totally. I've been vaccinated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
like we have to start this. I saw a TikTok where the woman was like, "I'm vaccinated. I can be outside without a mask," and then she's walking along like, "Oh, but wait a second. I don't want everyone to think I'm one of those assholes."
No,
So she
especially
puts
when
on a hat that says "vaccinated" on it.
and on top of that, I'm representing the Beer Avengers because if I'm going to a bar, I'm usually wearing the shirt.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay, oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
that,
there's gonna be
that's
there's
that
gonna be a little
anti-mask
transition.
podcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been noticing it in Philly, and we don't do the kind of like contact tracing stuff that it seems like most places in New York have been doing. So it really is
Correct,
just
yeah.
like
Some places.
some places, but it's been very rare for me to see anything like that here.
I think in New York, places that have indoor seating are required to do
Mm.
it.
Okay.
For
Yes,
now.
it is. It
I
is a
think-
requirement of it is a requirement of Gotham. But
because
again,
like at the Pony Bar, they didn't make us do it when we were sitting outside. It wasn't is when
Till
we
you went
came
inside.
inside.
right, it's
we had
it's
to-
a specific indoor experience. But at the same time, that again, that's New York is particularly, or Gotham City, I should say, is particularly restrictive given our history with this. Given
Yeah.
with this disease, of course, other places are not quite as restrictive. Certainly, I noticed that when I was doing that field work I did in Wisconsin, that
Yeah.
deep, intense research.
Mhm.
And have heard similar things about from family in other parts of the country. But again, New York has chosen to be more restrictive, and that is great.
Well, and this is the
And-
thing that is curious to me is that like so every neighborhood is treating it slightly differently, every business is treating it slightly differently. All of us as individuals are treating it slightly differently. So how do we
Mhm.
like figure out when like that person is approaching? How do we communicate our values to each other? Like it's a really fascinating problem because there isn't one way to do it. Even when the
Mhm.
CDC says you're outside, you don't need to wear a mask.
Right.
Everyone's treating that differently.
And I'm glad we both live in cities where we're amongst many people who would appreciate that nuance. And
Mhm.
I'm really glad that I don't live in Florida. And fuck Florida, I'm not going there anytime soon because of their governor.
We need to get Florida
I-
breweries on here. We need to.
We- we- we-
I like
a few.
Florida.
Yes,
I like Florida.
No, but did you hear what? I don't know if I know.
Oh,
but
I know what
but
the
fuck
government's like, but there's a lot of good people there too.
There are plenty of good people and plenty of
Like
good beer.
Staten Island.
I'm happy to drink
Oh,
their
God,
beer
don't
here.
start that.
No, here's what I'm talking about. It's specifically because a lot of places here they're coming up with things like maybe certain people can only sit in certain places if they've been vaccinated and can show proof of it. And everyone, it's the Wild West. Anyone can make up their own rules about that. There's some sporting events which say this is the vaccinated session over here. If you can prove that you've been vaccinated, you don't have to distance and you can sit over here, and they're really great seats. Well, the
Wow.
governor of Florida has said no one's allowed to do that here.
Right.
No one can require anyone to prove vaccination. Businesses aren't allowed to choose to do that for their own
Oh
sake.
yeah, he's absolutely a garbage person, no doubt.
Which is I feel bad for my friends who live there because I do have a lot of friends in Florida.
I will say though,
and there are some. Yeah,
the coffee in Miami is incredible.
I'm sure it is. I
Great
lived in
food there,
Orlando
too.
for about 3 years, but I'd never been to Miami.
And great for wildlife too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Crocodiles up the wazoo.
And it's unfortunate. And I know there's a lot of liberal and radical enclaves in Florida, and it's always
absolutely.
kind of split down the middle. But the right has been winning that battle, much like Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. But I don't think Ohio is as bad. I mean, their governor, he's struggled. He's I know my dad lives there and I have lots of friends there.
Wow.
But I know that they have had Mike DeWine isn't the greatest governor in the world. He's certainly been wishy-washy about things, but he's done a lot to piss off the Republicans in the past year.
Well, DeSantis wants, Florida governor wants to make himself the next
Trump.
Yeah.
So
And
he's playing all those cards.
He's doing a very good job of that.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, because my dad was someplace where he was, he had a mask and it had fallen on the floor, and you got to go pick this up. I just got this in the mail from DeWine, and some guy said, yeah, I wouldn't trust anything that liberal DeWine sent you. So it's not as cut, and even though the state has certainly gotten a little scarier in places, it's no Florida. And I'll be there in a couple of weeks to give you more reports from the field.
We're excited about your field reports that will be coming up soon.
Now, another thing I wanted to bring up, as far as, since we're talking about Cinco de Mayo, and you just got back from California, have you guys heard anything stuff about how, like, Stone is maybe trying to rebrand themselves as a lager brewery?
No, I've seen it. The Whole Foods, they're selling their Citravesa. It's a Mexican style lager, but
yeah, I mean, they've seen a shit ton of that everywhere. It's like salt and lime lager,
right, right.
Seeing that all over the place, and
I don't know about rebranding. They've always made a Pilsner, even from the early days.
Yeah, no, there's some speculation that I've seen some of the reports online that they're moving away from IPAs because they were so defined by IPAs.
Yeah,
but now maybe they're moving.
I mean, that is accurate. They were, so I guess that would be an appropriate rebrand. But no, I had not seen that.
Right on. Well, speaking of when I was in California, I had a couple more beer experiences.
Yeah.
When I arrived, my mother-in-law was nice enough to put a fresh Pliny in the fridge for me.
Very nice.
Pliny
lovely.
the Elder.
That classic.
Although I didn't discover it for a couple of days, she'd forgotten that that she'd put it there. I thought it was like one of the iced teas, and then I was like, because I had that work call, and I went out and found a beer. I didn't realize that Pliny was there the whole time, but we tried a couple of IPAs with Cider Girls Cousins. We had a little gathering, and they brought these beers from a place called Pond Farm Brewing, which is in Marin County in San Rafael, California, just up north of San Francisco, and really nice stuff. And they were like, "Oh, I know you like the IPAs." I'm like, "Well, actually, I'm more into lagers now." And luckily, they had brought a Bock and a black lager, and they were both excellent. The Bock struck me as more of like a Maibach or a Helles Bock. It was like lighter, but they just called it a Bock. And then there were two IPAs as well that we tried, but compared to, like, I know your guest last week, our guest last week was saying he can't do the IPAs.
Right. Yes.
I can, but I don't have that same approach that he has. They're just sort of all kind of blending into the same beer to me at this point. I can tell when one's worse than another one, like when one's better. I love the nose. To me, it's like I have the same outlook on steak, right? Okay. When you have like a good steak on the grill and I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, it smells so good. And then when I'm eating it, I'm like, yeah, well, when is this going to be over? Like, I don't actually enjoy eating a steak as much as I do smelling a steak. So I'm kind of like that with the IPAs. Like, I'm like, oh, the mosaic hops coming off of this and the tropical aromas is so great. And then I'm drinking it like, okay, I'm ready to move on after a few sips. So that's where I'm at with the IPAs. But I must say the Pliny did stick out as still being on a higher level. That was really still a great beer. Pliny the Elder.
This might be a little gross, but I feel like for me, the IPAs, it's the other end that I particularly do not enjoy. Like,
oh, is that right?
Like how it feels the next day after having
burns on the way out.
Yeah, like it feels really silty. I feel really gross. I feel really like broken down. I don't know. There's so many minerals, maybe.
More so than other beers.
That is a truth of beer drinking. You become a golem the next day.
I don't feel that way with other kinds of beer. Obviously, I have a hangover. I feel bad, but intestinally, I don't have the same challenges that I have with IPAs. To the point where I really do avoid them because of how they'll make me feel the next day, regardless of how good it smells. And I feel like steak, maybe there's a similar metaphor to make, depending on the kind of steak.
Well, I have the problem, but on the they make me very belchy and very easily get the heartburn from them, and sours too, unfortunately. But I still enjoy the taste of sours, especially the ones without lactose. I like the pure wild ales. Yeah. Boy, we're just all over the place with the topics
We
tonight.
really
Good
are.
stuff. Good stuff,
I
guys.
did. I don't want to focus too much on pandemic stuff, but there is one thing that's directly related to beer that I feel has to be mentioned.
Please.
New Jersey just introduced a new program a couple of days ago that about 12 breweries are signed on to, called A Shot in a Beer. Where if you have gotten a shot of the vaccine in the month of May, take proof there. And these 12 breweries, I don't have a list of them right here, but just Google A Shot in a Beer in New Jersey and you'll find it. And there's an indication there might be some more breweries signing up for the 12 breweries that if you show your vaccine card, you'll get a free beer.
Now, when I got my shot, which was a while ago, it was in March. It was like Krispy Kremes was gonna give me a free donut.
Yeah,
I heard about that one. Yeah,
and
I didn't bother going out there for that, but yeah.
No, I was sort of like, okay, but like, I don't know. That's not attractive enough to me. I do love Krispy Kremes. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Oh, I had one too. Yeah, from the shot. That was amazing.
But I'm not going to go out of my way to get a donut. If a donut avails itself to me, I will eat it. But
if a donut shows up on my doorstep,
right?
I put on enough weight in the pandemic. I don't need to go out of my way to get a free donut.
Exactly. But if I got a free fucking beer from a brewery, I would go.
No question.
I would
do it. I would go on a crawl.
I mean, this is such a privilege.
We would all be going on a crawl. Fully vaccinated crawl to 2021.
Vaccine crawl.
Show my arm. Show my Band-Aid.
Yeah,
I felt like that's what we were doing out west. We were going to all the restaurants and like, hey, we're vaccinated, and we were talking about spacing, and we were talking about people wearing. And they had like this rule where like when the waitress comes, you're supposed to put your mask back on. And it's really hard to do. When they're bringing over the water, they're bringing the coffee. It's like, oh, my mask.
I've been doing that this whole time, though. I mean, I guess I just had gotten.
I tried.
Like, I read an article where, like, there were some places I think in Brooklyn that were making that the rule, but a lot of places that weren't. But once I read that servers appreciate it, I was like, well, I got to do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like you're communicating
anything
to them
to make them feel more safe. They're the ones taking all the risks.
Exactly. So, hey, I care about your health, and then also they come out of nowhere and surprise you, and it's hard to always know in advance that they're approaching.
Yes. But the other thing about it is that it speaking of politeness, it intrinsically feels rude to be like, I'll have the
well, that goes back to one of the very first experiences I had a year ago was when I'd be walking. I mean, that now it's second nature, but remember a year ago when I'd feel bad about so not only would I avoid someone on the sidewalk, but I'd feel bad about it, so I'd avoid eye contact as well.
Yeah.
It would just make you feel just dirty and awful. I'm like, I'm doing exactly the right thing, and I'm doing it because I care about that person, but also I feel horrible.
And it feels so strange to look at someone just with their mask on and like see just their eyes and be like, oh, I don't know. What do you want from me? I don't know. We can't really read each other.
Conversely, it's like I feel like there's been more eye contact.
Yeah, right.
In New York, anyway, because it's just you kind of like look at it. I'm like,
it's our only communication.
I'm out here too.
One time, one of my first non-mask biking experiences over the weekend, I was just going down to getting a city bike angel, and I'm at the intersection, and I'm waiting with the bike, and I'm not wearing the mask, and this old lady with a mask is I'm looking at her. I feel like she's looking at me, and she says, "Are you having fun?" I said, sure. And she said, "Cause you look like you're having fun." I don't know if that was a passive aggressive, you're not wearing a mask thing or what, but it was.
But she could see something in your face.
I guess, yeah. Maybe that's the first time
she's
seen a fun that looks like it's like, I don't know.
I think stranger conversations like that have been easier.
Yeah,
I think it's true.
And because we wanted them more, especially in the early days, because we were isolated.
Yeah.
So even just saying, weather sort of level conversations with other people was like a treat. Because we noticed that in the park, you can see how much we're getting back to normal when less people say hello to each other.
Yeah.
Because in the park, you're like, hey, oh, hello. We don't do that in New York, but
No.
this past year you saw a lot more of it.
Yeah, not very polite in New York overall.
But we're great people. Great people.
Mm.
Yeah, the other really good
The
outdoor
best
experience
people.
I had was not as much beer related, but the Belgian Babe and I went to DeWine for brunch, which is this wonderful place over on 31st Avenue in Astoria. And it was one of those weird things where we were like, yeah, we should sit in the outside area. Even though there was almost no one in the inside area, we should sit the outside. And we were like, there was only one other table there. It was like 4 people, but they were like young actory people.
Ugh.
Who were really, really loud. And like after about 15 minutes, we said to the waiters, like, why don't we just get a seat by the door inside? I think that's probably better. And it was fine. It was great. And then we went to this other place just across the street from there called the Local Bar. Just want to plug all the great places I've had good experiences.
Yeah, I know. You took me there once.
Yeah. But and then on this is something entirely different, but this is just something that the experience that I had that felt like a beer thing to mention. HBO Max now has all the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings.
They do.
And Huck, I think you and Cider Girl, you bought those like when they came out, didn't you?
Yeah, and they don't look good. They don't look good on the TV now.
Well,
they're supposed to be Blu-ray and everything, and they look bad.
Well, I feel they go back and forth on the 4K. I feel that like there are scenes when you're looking at unspoiled New Zealand that you can tell there's no special effects. It's just the land and it looks spectacular. And then you'll cut to another shot where it looks like, okay, I'm looking at a painting. That looks like a painting.
Yeah. You got to be careful of that.
But the beer thing was I'd forgotten about this one because I don't think I'd seen Fellowship of the Ring in years. And the Hobbits, they've just started to go on their journey and they're in a bar. And I hadn't thought about how the Hobbits probably have different glassware than full-size people, and so they're sitting at you know what I'm talking about, but let me tell it. They're sitting at the table, and it's Merry and Pippin, and I don't know whichever one is whichever, and one of them brings a beer back to the table, and it's this big glass, and the other he says like, "What's that?" And he said, "This is a pint," and he just looks incredulous, says, "It comes in pints." And that was just such a wonderful beer moment.
Yeah, we recently rewatched those too. Yeah.
Well, I see. The thing is, like,
we watched everything this year.
The reason I hadn't in forever is because I didn't have access to the extended cuts. And the weird thing, I wanted to see the extended cuts, but so many extended cuts like aren't always on streaming.
No, yeah,
like you have to buy it, and
I rented them on Amazon over Christmas.
Yeah,
just to watch them, and it was definitely like, holy shit, I'm paying however much money just to watch these. I wanted to, but now it's great that it's on HBO Max.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention, I was looking at some stuff on Twitter this weekend. A friend of mine, Casey, who runs a podcast called the Nerdy Photographer podcast, introduced me to some other really interesting beer podcasts, and I was sort of like, and one of the ones that I really like, just because our friends that we were always talking about at the Happy Hour guys with the Curtain Up Project. Mm-hmm. They were on a great podcast that's been running like for 6 years called Steal This Beer. And it's run by the guy who runs Carton, Augie Carton. And he hosts it with a couple of other guys, and so they were guests on it. Then I found another one. It's called Beard Al.
That's a great Beer Venger name.
Beard Al.
Well, here's what
we should have given that to Al.
We should have.
I just gave his name away.
Except what this podcast is that they every week they do a different Weird Al song and a beer pairing with the Weird Al song.
That's so cool.
I thought it was pretty hilarious.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know who loves Weird Al more than me is
Mother Pucker.
Mother Pucker.
Yeah. I mean, I thought about like, well, if we ever do a crossover, I think she needs to be the guest Beer Venger for them.
Yes, most definitely.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. She's obsessed. So this is a great conversation, but should we take it offline?
Yeah, I think it's about that time.
I wanted to mention I think I'm at the end of my list of things I wanted to mention about. Do any of the rest of you have any stuff that you particularly wanted to talk about?
I think I covered everything for me. Some huck up last week. You said that Sean wrote an article, Sean Hill for Hill Farmstead. He was being interviewed, much like John Lennon when he said the thing about how they were bigger than Jesus.
Yeah.
So he's just riffing, so he's being interviewed for a newspaper, and he just he doesn't hold back on his opinions about how beer must taste like beer.
Mm.
But it's good that he's out there.
Well, it's like I said, he
It's like a soldier on the front. He's like, I'm holding steady.
I'll repeat what I said when you read his letter here. Is like I really look forward to having any of the beers that he makes, but I don't want to drink them with him.
Mm.
I mean, I would. I mean, I'd love to hear
I guess I would,
hear it
but
straight
but
from the horse's mouth.
But I feel like after a while, I'd be like, okay, yeah, explain to me why I should be liking this beer more. Explain to me why I don't appreciate it. I worry that he'd just be a pedantic.
I'd love it if you sat him down with Yeppe and just tried to be like a moderator.
That I'd love to watch. I'd buy tickets to that.
Well, we should get them both on the podcast at the same time.
Yes, we should.
That's a great idea.
It is.
Okay, well, I just said more than I meant to say.
Well, we're closing in on 1,000 downloads,
One hookup.
So we're pretty huge at this point.
Yeah, no, it's going great. It's going great. And like other podcasts, they don't worry about how long it's going to be. They just, if people want to listen, they're going to listen, and we can do a marathon.
And anyone who's still listening now, I hope you had a good time. We had a good time.
Extended cut.
We should really. This is where we need a Patreon so we can.
We should do a 24-hour. Beer Avenger show.
Just with 24 beers, one per hour.
Oh, jeez.
Why don't you come out? I told her to come jump in, but
yeah, no, I mean, if you listen to last week's show went a little bit long, and I don't know if you probably don't know this, but Belgian Babe asked a lot of great questions. Unfortunately, they were all after we turned off the mic, but it still was a great show.
Well, we have another guest here.
Hey, no, this is just Hophead Huck here.
Thank you, Cider Girl. Thank you for picking such good beers for him.
You're gonna piss off Nutpool. Like this is just gonna be.
There is some controversy about people being on too many times.
Honestly, it's like I said earlier. Say what you will about Nutpool.
He's nutty.
Nutty.
Yeah. Oh, that. I'm sorry, I didn't set that up right for you. Yeah, I didn't actually follow it up with anything. It's just say what you will, because when he's not here, we can say whatever we want to about him.
And he'll be taking notes.
Oh yeah. Well, if he's actually started listening to the show rather than just looking at it times.
Did Hophead talk to you a little bit about the North Coast Brewing?
He did. Yeah.
I was really excited. A few episodes ago, I was in the other room, but you were talking about beers that work towards a greater good other than just getting us all drunk.
Right.
And this is a brewery that really works hard at that. So it's exciting to read about they're trying to be zero waste and sustainable, and they give money to marine research and to take care of the coast of California. It warms your heart.
Excellent
To see, people doing that extra effort.
Yeah, one of the beers I had. One of the beers I had today is from Triple Bottom Brewing in Philadelphia, doing similar things. Like a B Corp, they're putting their their profit towards supporting folks. Project Home is a big project that they are a part of, and that really was exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that we can support something good while enjoying a beverage.
While getting drunk, yeah.
How's everyone?
We're great. It's great to see you, Cider Girl. And I don't know if Huck knows. Is Huck coming back? It's wonderful to have you here, but we're 86 minutes in and we can't end the show without him.
Yeah, let me get him back here.
Get that hop hug back.
Come back, silly goose. All right.
All right.
Here he comes.
Wonderful to see you.
Ugh. Sounds just like him. Ugh.
Yeah, I figure if we're just gonna keep going, let's rotate people.
That's right. Get all the guests.
Oh, well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you're still here, we hope you thought it was worth it. And even if you had to listen to it in installments, but
we need to have an intermission.
We'll be back next week with some more fun. And thanks for listening. And Trip Hellman.
Yeah,
come back anytime.
Go back anytime.
Oh, always.
Hell yeah.
Always.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, play us out, Huck.
All right. Oh, we're the beer Avengers, beer Avengers, beer Avengers. We're the Avengers.